Interdepartmental work groups, workflow across departments. There's usually a closed membership. There's a very tight coupling. Committees and ad hoc task forces. These generally we see these all the time where one company decides they need to redesign a process and they will pull together people ad hoc and say we need to develop a committee to provide a recommendation on X product or X process. Membership is not too close, they're usually larger, interaction is not as tightly coupled, and the standing joke is that many of these committees sometimes don't get anything done, and as such, they have a meeting to discuss when their next meeting is, or they're going to have a meeting, and the only thing that was decided was what to order for lunch the next time. That gets into organizational behavior. That's a whole different topic. Hopefully you take that course. I'd recommend it if you do. Business relationship groups might also be groups that are connected with customers and various suppliers in the supply chain. The technology needed to do that is twofold. One, we need to have obviously the technology that will support the collaboration, but on the other side, they need the ability to connect into the system, or their systems need to connect into our system. So while there's a very loosely grouped structure between them, the systems may need tighter integration unless it's the same single system, which will issue a whole new set of problems associated with it. Peer groups meet to exchange ideas, independent member activities. We may just throw some ideas back and forth, and social media is a kind of peer group. You can set up a group where there's a community of interest, networks as well, socialization, information exchange, purely electronics based, purely around disseminating information to a select group of people with no hierarchical structure, no formal structure set up. There's really no controls. The electronic groups are a derivation of this, where we have virtual communities, communities of interest. The communities of interest and communities of practice are groups of people who come together based on some common identity or shared way of doing things. Communities of practice might be a community around the open source Joomla content management system, or Java programming, or Linux. Communities of interest might not be so technical or things that we're not doing, but they might be things like spiritual community of interest, chat forums on religion, or chat forums on, let's say, cancer survivors or individual types of ailments, so that you can disseminate information, but you can also learn from the experiences of others, which might be difficult if there was no other way to actually find individuals who shared those things. Plus, when you can do them online, you can actually reach a larger audience and get more diversification of information, which generally makes it pretty good. There has been some research out there about communities of interest actually acting as a complement to real support groups locally. So people would go to a local support group, then they might join a community of interest and get even more information and then discuss them. Network armies, massive voluntary collaboration, widely dispersed groups of people. We see this in open source and Wikipedia. Wikipedia is a prime example where everybody can be a contributor. Everybody's a contributor, and a lot of people will actually pull information off. And there is a lot of research also that shows that the voluntary collaboration, this massive voluntary collaboration, actually provides much more accurate information because there's more people who are looking at it. In addition, from an open source perspective, it's been shown that open source software actually has far fewer errors once it reaches a certain maturity level. Supporting collaboration, 3 nurturing acts garner benefits: identifying potential communities of practice, providing an infrastructure for that community of practice, and measuring community of practice. We want to collect the anecdotes and understand what type of contributions are actually performed. Not everybody will be a contributor, but if 5 or 10% achieve contribution, we may achieve what's called the critical mass, which provides a significant value to the communities of practice. The systems that support collaboration need to support communication and interaction, and they need to support decision-making and problem-solving. It's important that the systems that we implement allow us to communicate with the individuals and allow us to interact at the time of our choosing. But we also want some form of decision-making or problem-solving when we're doing collaboration, especially when it comes to a community of practice or a group decision support system within an organization. So this is a model that has the same time, same place, different places. These are the types of groupware options. And the different tools that we could use will vary based on the level of synchronicity that we need, as well as the level of co-location that we need. Tools that require different times and different places, obviously email, faxes, group editing, decision support systems that are completely asynchronous. Whereas if we need to be together in a physical place and we need to be doing it at the same time, obviously this would be face-to-face meetings. One could argue, well, video conferencing may have the same effect. However, once you start implementing technology, we find that we begin that separation and that boundary is created, and that boundary is the geographical boundary. Same time, same place IT support, supporting meetings using IT with asynchronous communication via email, better preparation of documents. We can exchange online documents. These would be presentation skills. Again, we could consider using video conferencing where the individual would not be in the place, but technology can support these types of functions even for same time, same place. Supporting different place collaboration, different groups, development of virtual teams, teleological and ephemeral. So what we focus on here is when we're in different places, we really want to enable them to communicate, but again, either at their own time or on a preset time. So the team may meet face-to-face initially to develop a basic plan and objectives, but then after that, they begin to do things independently or within smaller groups or at various times. Now what's important here is that the same time, same place also has another effect. When the group initially meets, you're seeing who they are. When individuals meet other individuals, they immediately form opinions, both good and bad. But if that first meeting is more for camaraderie, where we have a set goal, we understand everybody's participation, then it's a lot easier to collaborate as opposed to making assumptions when someone doesn't do the work or they don't seem to have done the work that they were supposed to and we don't know anything about them. So there are psychological effects that IT necessarily cannot solve, but there are techniques that people use with regards to groups and group-related projects that enable us to do these types of meetings.